It all begins in 2008 with four friends, Riley, Laura, Peter, and David, who run a YouTube channel called Paranormal Paranoids. They travel to haunted locations, documenting any supernatural activity they encounter. One day, Riley, the host, records a video she intends to upload. In it, she admits she hasn't been feeling safe. As she talks, a loud noise echoes from downstairs. Riley freezes, then goes to investigate. Moments later, she screams for help. And the footage cuts out. A search party is formed when the entire group disappears for weeks. News reports reveal the four were last seen near the southern edge of Darke County, Ohio, close to the abandoned town of Shelby Oaks. Surveillance footage of the group at a gas station nearby is also recovered. Meanwhile, public backlash grows. Many accuse the paranormal paranoids of staging everything and wasting police resources. But the victims' families insist the disappearance is real and urge the public to help find them. Days later, during the investigation, police discover that the group had recently started using 2 cameras, and they managed to recover one. On that camera, they find Riley's unfinished video, along with footage showing a tall figure, about 6'4", wearing gloves, lurking outside the cabin in the background. Police release the footage from the first camera to public, and it quickly goes viral. In one of the videos, people point out a shadowy figure with horns staring at Riley before it fades away. Unfortunately, weeks later, the bodies of Laura, Peter, and David are discovered after a cabin owner in Shelby Oaks calls 911. Riley is still missing. Outside the cabin, a bloody symbol is smeared across the wall, accompanied by a single name: Tarian. 12 years later, Riley's sister Mia is approached by a news company to create a documentary about Riley's disappearance. During the interview, Mia explains how she has spent the last 12 years searching for her younger sister, refusing to give up hope. Mia describes Riley as creative, bright, and mature for her age. While other kids kept dream diary, Riley kept a dream sketchbook filled with drawings of her dreams and nightmares. Riley later became interested in acting and art, which eventually led her to create Paranormal Paranoids. The channel grew steadily, even though many viewers stayed skeptical. Mia admits that she, too, sometimes doubted what she saw on the videos, but she knew Riley would never fake anything. She recalls that after the prison episode, where Riley was visibly shaken by something unseen inside a jail cell, she tried calling Riley to check on her and urge her to stop making content like that. But Riley never answered. Shortly after that episode aired, the channel went silent. Critics online mocked the group, calling the footage staged. Then the disappearance happened, and ironically, their channel's popularity skyrocketed. Internet sleuths began combing through old videos, searching for clues. Mia also talks about the abandoned amusement park in Shelby Oaks, a place their mother used to take her and Riley to when they were kids, before it closed in the late 90s after a massive fire. Locals claim the park is haunted. Mia then goes on to share that she met her husband, Robert, 2 years before her sister's disappearance. She talks about how they had wanted to become parents for a long time and tried for years, but it never happened. After her sister went missing, Mia says they never found the time or the emotional space to try again. Mia then mentions about Riley's childhood night terrors, how she would wake up screaming, drenched in sweat, insisting someone was watching her through her second-floor bedroom window. They never found anyone outside, just a crack in the glass. The nightmares stopped when Riley turned 13. But in the last video, Mia says she noticed the same terrified look in Riley's eyes that she had seen years ago. At the very end of that video, Riley's voice distorts. Many people try to decode it. But Mia reveals that after watching it hundreds of times, she finally understood what Riley said. Mia, he's back. The documentary ends with Mia recalling how their mother carved the girls' initials into the trees so they would always find their way home if they got lost, adding through tears that she hopes Riley finds her way home soon. When filming wraps for the day, the crew tells Mia to take a break. A sudden knock sounds at the door. Mia answers it. A man stands there, shaking. He looks at her and quietly says, "She finally let me go." Before Mia can react, he takes his own life. The authorities are called, and the paramedics take the man's body away. Mia, still in shock, replays the moment when he collapses on her doorstep, clutching a videotape labeled Shelby Oaks in his hand, which she ends up taking. That night, after Robert goes to bed, Mia decides to watch the tape. She inserts it into the player. When the screen flickers to life, Mia feels a sudden rush of warmth. There is her little sister again, alive and smiling. In the video, Riley narrates that they are in Shelby Oaks, a town notorious for paranormal activity. She explains that this town was once a thriving community until one day the crops went sour and businesses closed. Some residents believed the town became haunted. But the truth, Riley says, is still a mystery. No one knows exactly what happened. A minute into the tape, Mia notices something unsettling. Riley's expression changes. She looks uncomfortable, nervous even, and stares off into the distance. Then Riley abruptly tells the group that they need to leave, but David argues that they only just arrived. In the next clip, Riley is standing in the abandoned amusement park. Riley explains the park's history, how a string of missing person cases and a devastating fire forced it to shut down for good.
My mom used to come here when she was little.
She mentions that her mother used to bring her and her sister here when they were young. Then, Riley reaches toward an old tree and begins carving initials into the bark. The group then takes shelter in an abandoned cabin. The mood on the tape shifts. Everyone looks tense. Moments later, the camera picks up a tall figure lingering outside, watching them. In the next clip, distant howls echo through the trees, deep, guttural, and animalistic. Peter lifts the camera toward the sound, whispering that it's fucking crazy. Later, the group hears something move outside. They argue in hushed tones before deciding to check it out. Riley remains upstairs, unaware of what's happening below. Moments later, the camera shakes violently. Screams erupt. The figure from earlier storms into the cabin. In a frenzy of brutality, he murders the group, Peter, Laura, and David. Ruthlessly and without hesitation, Mia's breath catches as she watches the man's face. It's the same man who killed himself at her doorstep. Riley, hearing the commotion, comes downstairs. She gasps at the sight of her friends. Then the madman grabs her, dragging her out of frame. As the video ends, two glowing eyes suddenly appear reflected on the TV screen. Mia freezes, then slowly turns toward the window, only to find no one there. Suddenly, the glass cracks sharply. Grabbing a baseball bat, Mia rushes outside to investigate. Just then, Robert comes out, startled, asking what's wrong. Mia can barely speak and instead shows him the videotape. Minutes later, Mia explains to her husband that she took the tape from the dead man's hand. Robert looks at her, stunned, and asks why she didn't give it straight to the police. Mia admits, voice wavering, that she needed to see it for herself first, needed to know what really happened to her sister. The next morning, Mia and Robert meet with the detective assigned to the case. He explains that the man who died on their doorstep has been identified. His name was Wilson Miles, born in Shelby Oaks in 1981. The detective goes on to say that Wilson spent 5 years in the old Dark County Correctional Prison for aggravated assault and battery. Mia freezes when she hears this. The same prison where Riley and the group had filmed one of their episodes. The detective adds that after Wilson was released, he disappeared completely off the grid. No address, no job, no family contact, nothing until now. Later, tension flares as Robert confronts Mia for not telling the detective about the tape. But Mia insists it wouldn't matter because the police stopped searching for Riley years ago and the murderer is already dead. She adds that she fears the public would twist the story again and drag Riley's name through the mud. So Mia says they have to find Riley for themselves first. She promises to return the tape after a few days. Then Mia goes to the library to research Wilson Miles. She pulls out her notebook and begins jotting down anything important. A prison riot at Dark County Jail that claimed 18 lives shortly after Wilson arrived. Rumors in archived newspapers about demonic influence which may have caused the riot. She continues digging, now searching specifically for Dark County demonic force. One result catches her attention. The incubus, a demonic entity said to seek sexual contact with sleeping women. As she scrolls, Mia finds an illustration of the incubus's symbol. She recognizes it instantly. It's the same mark police found outside the cabin. An hour later, Mia meets with Morton, the warden of Dark County Prison. She tells Morton she saw an old interview of him in which he admitted he couldn't explain the prison's slow deterioration, and she asks what he meant by it. Morton nods, and says it all started on the day of the riot. A computer error caused the cell doors in Block 3 to open. That block, he explains, housed many dangerous criminals, and Wilson Miles was there too, in cell 37. Morton describes Wilson as a quiet, peculiar man who spoke to no one. During the riot, when his cell door unlocked, he didn't run. He just stood at the window, staring out, completely unaware of the chaos happening around him. Morton tells Mia that Wilson carried something with him, something that left nothing behind but death and rot inside the prison. He then asks if Wilson is truly dead. Mia confirms he is. At home, Mia rewinds the tape to the footage of Riley at the amusement park. When she zooms in, she spots a horned figure standing far in the background. The incubus, unmistakably. After gathering enough evidence, Mia lays everything out in front of her husband. She explains that Wilson was born in 1981 in Shelby Oaks, and almost immediately after his birth, the town began losing residents. Crops failed, businesses shut down, and by the early 2000s the town was barely functioning. She tells Robert that by then, only two things were still standing in Shelby Oaks: the amusement park she and Riley used to visit, and the prison. The first two photos she shows Robert were taken in 2002, and the next one is in 2007, after Wilson had already spent 5 years inside the prison. Robert asks Mia what any of this has to do with Riley. Mia explains that Riley used to suffer from night terrors, which suddenly stopped when she turned 13, the same time Wilson started serving his sentence. And when Wilson was released, Riley disappeared. Robert assumes Wilson must have been the figure looking through Riley's window when she was 13. Mia shakes her head and says, there's a memory from her childhood she always dismissed as a false memory. But now she knows it was real. Mia tells Robert that when Riley was 9, she decided to sleep in her room one night to comfort her during her bad dreams. Riley slept peacefully, but Mia didn't. She kept hearing scratching outside the window, and when she looked toward it, the glass cracked. She admits she never told anyone about it, and nothing like that ever happened again. Until now, Mia concludes that whatever the creature was, it used Wilson as a vessel to get what it wanted: Riley. Ever since the night it first looked at her through the window, but Robert doesn't believe her. He tells Mia that she needs help, then leaves. As Mia packs the evidence away in a box, she comes across a demonology book she borrowed from the library. Inside, she finds the incubus symbol and reads that the incubus uses hellhounds as sentries, and that it behaves like a parasite, latching onto a family for generations. She then goes through her sister's old drawings and is shocked to see one that closely resembles the incubus. When she lifts her eyes from the sketch, she spots a hellhound standing on the lawn, but it vanishes a moment later. Then Mia opens her laptop and watches the final episode of Paranormal Paranoids. Riley looks terrified while exploring the inside of a prison cell. Mia pauses the frame and notices the number of the cell. Cell 37. Wilson Miles's cell. Determined, Mia goes to the abandoned prison. She breaks inside and walks through the long, empty hallway. She eventually reaches Block 3, where Wilson's cell is located. Inside, she sees black stains spread across the walls and floor, as if the room had been burned. Through the small window, she can see the ruins of the amusement park. On the wall, she notices the carved initials M and R. Not far from them is the incubus symbol, along with the phrase Almighty Tarian. She remembers seeing the same words outside the cabin where the group was killed. She realizes the incubus must be named Tarian. Suddenly, she feels a presence. The hellhound stands right in front of her. It charges toward her, but a hand suddenly grabs it, blocking its attack. Mia bolts from the prison and runs to her car. She drives straight to the amusement park. Then, she grabs a flashlight and searches for the old tree where Riley carved their initials. She finds it. Then she hears a growl nearby and follows the sound into the woods. It's the hellhound. But instead of attacking, it steps forward, looks back at her, and walks deeper into the trees, as if it wants her to follow. Mia follows the hellhound deeper into the woods until she comes across an old house. Outside the house, she spots a patch of grass where the branches of the plants have been arranged deliberately into the shape of the incubus symbol. As she stares at it, An elderly woman steps out of the house, startling Mia. Mia tells the woman she didn't think anyone lived out here and asks if she owns a dog. The old woman replies that she's lived here for decades, and that yes, she does have a dog. She then invites Mia inside. She introduces herself as Norma, and Mia introduces herself in return. As Mia steps inside, she immediately notices something chilling. The same black decayed stains she saw in Wilson's prison cell are spread across the walls of the house. Trying to stay calm, she asks Norma if she's seen her sister anywhere. Norma simply says no and walks toward the living room. Mia grabs a kitchen knife for protection and follows her. Mia asks Norma if she lives alone. No, Norma answers. I live with my son. Look behind you. Mia turns and freezes. Norma's son is Wilson Miles. Norma asks Mia if she has any children. Mia answers, no. Norma apologizes and gently asks why. Mia answers quietly, just couldn't find the time. She then asks Norma if she could have some water. When Norma steps into the kitchen, Mia texts Robert her location and tells him to send it to the police immediately. Then she notices a photo album lying on the table. Curiosity and dread drive her to open it. What she finds inside turns her stomach. Photographs repeatedly show Riley standing beside Wilson, visibly pregnant on multiple occasions. Tragically, each pregnancy ended in a miscarriage, as suggested by later photos of Robert digging in the soil. Mia suddenly understands. The green patch of grass outside is where the babies were buried. Norma appears behind her and says softly, "You should be proud of her. She was strong, just as I was." Mia, trembling with rage and terror, demands to know where her sister is. Norma simply nods and says, "Come, I'll show you." She lifts a hidden door in the floor and descends a set of stairs leading to a basement. Mia follows cautiously. In the dim light, Mia sees Riley, slumped, dazed, and barely conscious inside a cell. Mia rushes to her, speaking gently and reassuring her that she's safe now. Riley slowly moves toward her. Mia snatches the key hanging nearby and unlocks the door, freeing her. They sprint up the steps, but Norma and the entity lurking with her begin closing in. Mia slams the basement door shut and locks it. She grabs Riley to pull her toward the exit. But Riley suddenly breaks away and runs upstairs. Panicked, Mia grabs a fire poker and follows her. She finds Riley standing motionless outside a closed door. Mia opens it. Inside, she hears a baby crying. Mia's stomach drops when she realizes what it means. Riley's final pregnancy was successful. In the center of the room, Norma is performing a ritual, one dedicated to Tarion. Norma slices her hand, letting her blood drip onto the baby while chanting prayers. As Mia and Riley rush to stop the ritual, Norma uses Tarion's power to knock them both out. Disoriented, Mia crawls toward her sister. As she reaches Riley, she sees a towering, shadowed figure behind Norma, Tarion himself. Norma begins to weaken rapidly, her life draining away. With the last of her strength, she drags her blood-covered hand across the wall, smearing it over the carved initials RM. Then she collapses, dead. Mia's breathing steadies. She slowly approaches the baby. She looks into his eyes and a gentle smile forms on her face. Riley is admitted to the hospital. In the waiting room, Robert reaches for Mia's hand, but she brushes him off silently. Later, Mia hands the last videotape over to the police, the footage clearly showing Wilson murdering the paranormal paranoid. A breaking news report follows shortly after. The missing host of the channel has been found alive after 12 years, locked in a basement in a house in Shelby Oaks. As the final part of the documentary, the news crew returns to film Riley's progress. Mia explains that recovery is slow, but Riley is finally becoming aware of her surroundings. She adds that the baby is doing wonderfully. That night, after checking on both Riley and the newborn, Mia quietly steps out of the room. Riley's eyes open. She turns her head toward the crib. Meanwhile, one of the documentary producers mentions that editing is nearly finished. She then asks Mia how she managed to find the house in the first place, since she told the police that she just came across it. Mia hesitates, then quietly answers, "I guess something wanted me to." Upstairs, Riley walks toward the crib. She picks up a pillow and holds it above the baby. Mia bursts into the room just in time. "What are you doing?" she gasps. Riley turns to her, eyes full of tears. "He has to die." Mia grabs Riley, pulling her away. With one desperate shove, Mia pushes Riley backward. The glass gives way. Riley falls. Seconds later, hellhounds materialize and tear her apart. Mia realizes, with horror, that this had been Tarian's plan since they were children. One sister chosen to bear his child and the other destined to raise it. Tarian places his hand on Mia's shoulder and she lets out a blood-curdling scream.